Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back to the Windsor Time podcast. It's been a busy week. But we wanted to get an episode for you guys. So as you can tell, we are back at a Carolina Watch Club Meetup filming today. So the audio we'll do the best we can. It's loud in here, but that's showbiz. So we will go ahead and grab our first couple of guests now, and let's talk about some watches. Lisa, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
We've wanted to get you on for so long. I still want to do a full episode with you.
I would love that.
But we're here today. It's a beautiful Sunday.
It's gorgeous.
All our friends are here.
I know.
So tell us, what is on your wrist?
So today it's just the OP Turquoise 36.
Nice.
But I
Very
love this
cool.
watch. It doesn't probably get as much wrist time as it deserves.
Yeah.
I'm kind of nervous to ding it up because of the smooth bezel.
Right.
But I do love this watch.
Yeah. Let me get a shot of it on my phone.
Absolutely.
So you are a huge golf enthusiast.
Yes.
So what I want to ask you is this. You get tickets to the Masters. Hypothetically.
Yeah. I was like, really?
No.
For
we actually have them over
2024?
here.
Oh my God.
So you get tickets to the Masters.
Yeah.
What watch are you going to wear if you get to go? And I think I know what it is.
It would be one of two.
It's a green dial.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a green dial. It would either be the Hulk
Yeah.
or the Gold Date.
That's what I was going to say. And that watch, I mean, because they take your phone away the day of.
Yes.
I mean, you actually need a watch for it.
You
like,
do
it's a
need
cool
a watch.
thing.
Yeah.
When was the last time you got to go?
2015.
Okay.
Not that I'm like,
Yeah, I was
counting
gonna
or
say.
anything. But
well,
yeah,
and my favorite thing
2015.
is every year I know the Masters are getting like somewhat close because I see your story.
Yeah.
Just like cussing them out, saying I didn't get it again.
Yeah. I really look forward to that email every year saying denied.
Absolutely. So, how did you get into watches initially?
So it's funny because my dad was not super into watches, but always wanted a Rolex and would never buy it for himself, right? And so my mom finally got sick of hearing about that. I want a Rolex, and she was like, F it, I'm going to buy him a Rolex.
Yeah.
And so got him that for Christmas one year, and it just the imprint of like why this was such a big deal to him, because he could afford a Rolex. It wasn't like, he was scraping for it, but it just made such an imprint that, wow, this is something kind of important. And then I just started kind of paying attention to it, and when he passed, I got his his date just, and then it took me 10 years from when I got it to be able to get it sized and wear it.
Oh, wow.
Because it wasn't my watch, it was his watch.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, I just kind of got into it from that and just started collecting.
Well, and I think, we talk about, and you're into fashion and bags and stuff too, and like, there is a aesthetic value to it.
Right.
But the more interesting thing, I think, to us as collectors, if you will, is that emotional connection, that story that goes into it.
Absolutely.
It negates, these are expensive things, yes, but the price tag kind of goes out the window.
Totally.
And you're just thinking about that emotional connection, whether you're looking at a beautiful bag or a beautiful watch. So much of what we have now is digital. It's on our phones, it's on screens.
We don't need a watch.
Whenever you get a physical product, though, like that is truly beautiful, it's something that it just moves you a little bit.
Absolutely.
It's really
That's a really good way to put it. I agree with that.
Especially with your father's Rolex, and then my first Rolex was also a date just. 16013, early 80s, and it's something I'll cherish and keep forever, and then hand
Without
down.
a doubt.
If I'm lucky enough to have kids someday, give it to them.
And it'll mean something to them.
And it will, and there'll be photos and there'll be other things, and I think we're all, and not to get too deep, we're all only here for so long.
Yeah.
But the appeal of a watch, as opposed to maybe cool boots or something, is the watch will be there long after we're gone, and it's almost like you have this piece of you that is going to live on.
Right.
And does that make sense? I don't know.
It makes
it's
total
a weird.
sense.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I'm sure that my dad never would have thought that his watch was going to mean that much to me or anyone else. So I kind of like to think that when I wear it, he's like, oh, that's cool. Looking down, like, oh, that means something to her.
Yeah.
And
and it feels like
that.
he's kind of there with you.
Absolutely.
For which I think is cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to start crying if we keep going.
I know, right?
Thank you so much for coming on. Wonderful Sunday to film. But no, seriously, we will have you on for a whole thing.
I would love that.
It's been so
Maybe
much
I'll
fun.
bring a chicken.
Yeah, that would be good. What?
My joker, my constant
Oh, I
chicken.
think it's a chicken for a second. I was like, are we going to bring
if you
chicken?
want me to bring
Do you
chicken.
have a secret farm somewhere? I feel
do.
like you could.
And a secret recipe for frying it now.
Yeah. Awesome.
But I'll bring chicken too.
Yeah, no, but Lisa does have some phenomenal and very interesting watches. I think the Joker, you're the only person I've seen with one
Yeah.
ever, actually.
Yeah, me too.
And it's very, very cool.
I'll bring it.
Awesome. We'll let you get back to it. Have
Thank
fun.
you. This
Thank
was
you so
fun.
much.
Thanks,
Have fun.
guys.
Yeah. Well, Gabe, welcome on, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
You own, and I saw it pull up. You drove the E46 today, right?
E46 today. Yes.
Gabe has one of the cleanest E46s that you daily drive. How many miles does it have right now?
135.
And how many did it have when you got it?
114.
Wow.
Something like that. Yeah.
How's reliability been on that?
It's been excellent.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about BMW reliability,
Yeah.
and it's just I don't find that to be an issue. Maybe I got lucky, but I obviously take good care of it.
Yeah.
And when I say daily drive, I mean I work out of my home office,
Sure.
so a lot of times it'll be 5 or 6 days before I drive it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's maintained by an awesome shop out in Monroe.
Very cool.
Shout out to Euro Empire, but I don't think
Nice.
anybody's listening. But
Yeah.
they're a great shop. They specialize in M cars, and they've really done a lot. I probably put about $2 or $3 grand into it since I
Yeah.
got it, just as far
It's
as
not
like
bad at all.
general maintenance and it's
Yeah.
more about like general maintenance and like kind of getting it up to snuff,
Yeah.
set up, that kind of a thing. Extra tuning, things that I wanted, like set up correctly, but
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it's been an awesome car. Knock on wood, I don't have anything to
Yeah, knock on wood. So, we talked about those gears. Now let's talk about the other gears. What do you have on your wrist today?
Yep. Today, Carolina Watch Club
Yeah.
Elagos,
Very
number
cool.
9 of
Number 9.
75.
Yeah.
Love this watch. I was really excited to get it. In fact, I was pretty impatient waiting the whole time, as I'm sure everybody was.
Oh, yeah.
We thought we were going to get it sooner, but of course it was worth the wait.
Yeah.
And I have worn quite a bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, and you have some really cool straps for it as well. I'm
Yeah.
hopeful. So you have a strap from Art, don't you?
From where?
Art.
I do
Drunk
have a
Art,
strap
yeah.
from Art. Yes.
Yeah.
Drunk Art straps, awesome
What
strap.
color did you? Was it gray?
It's more of a greenish gray. He
nice.
originally made it for my Explorer 2, 42 millimeter Explorer 2,
Yeah.
but it looks awesome on this watch too.
Oh,
Also
yeah.
looks great on a Seiko Turtle, old school.
So that's what I realized, not to cut you off. So obviously I want one for that watch, but then my Seiko Turtle, I always feel like I kind of struggle with that watch because I haven't been able to find that perfect strap.
Yes.
Do you find that the thickness of that strap is like a good compliment to that case?
I do,
Nice.
yeah, and a good compliment to this case as well.
Yeah.
Actually, all three of the watches, I swap it back and forth between all three of those watches. But yeah, Art makes an awesome strap. It's perfect. It's like a vintage canvas of some kind that he
Yeah.
finds. I don't know where he finds them, but
Yeah.
it works really well. And
Nice.
I like it on this one too. Yeah.
Very
Sure.
cool. So you mentioned a few other watches you own. Between the Explorer 2 and that, during the summer, which gets more wrist time?
Oh my goodness. Well, we'll see. This summer, I have been thinking all along that this will be the so-called watch of the summer.
Yeah, I think it will.
And I think it will be. Last summer it was the Explorer 2, but I
Yeah.
also didn't have this at the time.
It's true.
The Explorer 2 is an awesome summer watch. I have the polar dial version.
Yeah. So good.
And it is, but I find that when I swap back and forth between the two, they're so different.
Yeah.
So they hit in like so many different ways.
Yeah.
So I can't quite pick like which one I like more. It's like I'm always like
Yeah.
ready for the other one. when I
Oh
go to-
yeah. Well, and I find and I appreciate, I change straps all the time. And you're someone who also always does it. And I think,
Yeah.
so many people are afraid to even get the most minute scratch. But I'm like, you know what? If it's my watch, the little scratches on the
Yeah.
lugs, as long as it's
Yeah.
not bad, it's a good time. And I think it makes it such a unique wearing experience. And, not to say that these watches, some of them are more common, but whenever you put it on a strap, like especially that Explorer 2, I mean, how many owners have ever taken it off the bracelet?
Yeah.
Less
fair.
than probably 1%. So
True.
the fact that you have done that and more different things, I think is so cool. Have you done an orange strap on that yet?
Yes. Yeah, I agree about the straps. But yeah, I have an all orange NATO, ribs NATO that I got from cheapest NATO straps.
The best.
It's like gotta support them, especially after all the.
Well, CNS now, not cheap.
Excuse me.
And I don't even understand. So for those of you who aren't aware, cheapest native straps, awesome company, and they essentially had the equivalent of, I guess it was like a patent troll or something.
Right.
But a guy trademark troll.
Yeah,
he had trademarked the term NATO strap, which I didn't.
Just recently, as far as I understand.
So he came after them, so they changed it to cnsstraps.com or something like that. But if you do want cheaper native straps, I love their stuff.
Oh, they're great. Yeah, absolutely. I think it was like $5 maybe.
Yeah.
Something like that. Anyway, it looks great on there. But I have it on order, an Erica's original orange with a white stripe. Because I feel like that would be like the right balance. So we'll see how that looks. But that's going to be like a summer strap.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because when you're talking about summer straps, for me, the amount of time it takes to actually dry is a huge factor.
Good point.
Because whenever you have, like, I love NATO straps, I have plenty of NATO straps, but I don't like a soggy NATO strap. Whereas, like, rubber, or I'm curious to see what the Erica's, what that'll be like. I have a solid navy one in 20 millimeters. It's on my Moonswatch right now.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, that's nice.
So good. So light. But, you know, I want to get it wet on some other, not the Moonswatch, but put it on other watches this summer and just kind of see what that time is to dry out of curiosity.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I have a gray one. And actually, I did wear it at the beach last year with my Explorer 2, but I can't remember how long it took to dry. But it must not have been very long.
Yeah, it must not have been,
But yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you don't want to just feeling all gross on your wrist. Yeah, I totally agree.
Anyway.
Yeah, so we'll see about that. Everyone was like, oh, you got the gray one, why didn't you get the orange one? I was like, well, I thought maybe the orange would be too much. And then sure enough, I came around and now I've ordered orange. So.
That's, you know, the watch addiction is the first stage. And then the second is the strap addiction. I mean, I have just drawers and drawers of straps. But there's always one more that you need.
Oh, of course. So I've got a snake's nest of NATOs in a drawer. It's just ridiculous.
So I unofficially, theoretically, ordered a Chinese replica of the Pelagos FXD strap for mine because I wanted to see how, and I'll probably order the real Tudor one at some point, but I was curious to see. I was actually watching Succession, and Kendall Roy had the RM with the Velcro strap on it, and I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool look. That'd be fun.
Really? They're rolling out watches like that on that show?
Yeah. So impressive. I wanted that, and I was like, oh, I'll get one for my Tudor. You know, it's not an RM, but
that's all right. Yeah, it's still a cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool deal. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll let you get back out there.
Thanks for having me. Absolutely. Awesome. Good stuff.
Well, last time we recorded this, you came on. You went to Japan for a month.
I did.
You came back, and here we are again. So how's it going, man?
Thanks for having me back. Yeah, it's good to do a
Are
little
you still jet lagged?
Still very jet lagged. Yeah.
What's the time difference?
13 hours. So they're 13 ahead.
Yeah.
So right now it's like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So definitely not quite used to it yet. It's about 24 hours door to door.
Yeah.
To do the travel. So
wild. We'll show the camera over here, and I'll get a clip too. So, on your trip to Japan, you were fortunate enough to go and visit Grand Seiko. Bring it over here. And you picked up this watch. So, tell us what you have on here.
So, this is the Shizuku Ishii limited edition. So, this is a watch you can only get at the studio.
So cool.
It's also engraved here on the balance, so you can see there.
Yeah.
So that's, you have to be at the factory in Japan. They won't ship it.
Yeah.
You can only buy one.
Yeah.
And it's a little hard to see the color. It's actually kind of like a green. If you take it in the light, you'll be able to really see it, but it pops. It's got the
very cool
bamboo forest on it.
Yeah, and it's good weight too. I feel like I always forget because our other shared watch, the SPGA 413, is titanium. That kind of the weight surprised me for a second. How do you... In comparing the two watches on wrist, how do you kind of feel? Do you like the weight?
I do like it. So this is the original, like the 44GS case, which I really like, and I've always wanted one because they say for this, like the Zoratsu polishing really pops because the flat finishes.
Yeah.
So I think that was cool to get, and I don't know. I think like being there and seeing the whole experience, that like it's, I think, what you would prototypically expect of a Japanese watch studio, that it's like very beautiful, and they want to talk to you for 20 minutes of the tour about why they chose the wood color they chose, and like why it's designed to bring like the views of Mount Iwate and the nature in, which like it's all open glass out to the lake and the mountains. So as the watchmakers are sitting there, they can see, they can look out over the mountain and see like their inspiration. It's obviously very important to them, and it's not sort of like lip service there, that it's like they want to include all that and bring all that into the design, and like everybody that works there knows that, and that's part of the mission of the company. And it was just cool to see that, I think, as somebody who loves Japan.
Absolutely. Well, in getting into the history of architecture in Japan, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about they had built a structure hundreds of years ago that used no nails.
Yes.
And everything was so precisely done in this building. It just fit and slotted in. I mean, you look at our log cabins and they're kind of crude, but then when you go back in their history, you know, it really is taking pride in those tiny, small things to make it. And I think that's really what comes through in Grand Seiko watches. I think they were undervalued for a long time. I think now they're at an appropriate value, I would say, overall. At a fair price, but I mean, still the amount of finishing you get, the amount of history that I think is even to come with Grand Seiko will be really cool. You know, we look at, I'm wearing my No Date sub today. When you look at, 5513 from decades and decades ago, you see that history here. It will be interesting to see from a brand perspective with Grand Seiko. You know, are these, which they've been around for a while, but are these watches now, in 50 years going to be, something really to behold? Because when you look at, older Rolexes, whatever, they were just watches at the time. Nobody really cared. It wasn't a thing. But, in popular culture now, they're just coveted. I would really love to see Grand Seiko come in and just dominate the landscape.
It's quite interesting, I think, some of the watch history, because like Seiko's 1881, right? Yeah. So it's got a heritage, I think, as long as almost anywhere, and then obviously Grand Seiko was spun out into its kind of its own thing, like it operates under the umbrella but separately. Yeah. And so it's interesting, I think, when people talk about the length and heritage of other watch brands, and they seem to kind of forget about Seiko a lot in a certain way, and then people are still bitter that Seiko made the quartz watch, the first quartz watch, and did all that. But it is an interesting brand history, and I feel like, like I have a friend there who's a monk, right? I lived in Hiroshima for a year. He's a monk. He's running his family temple. His family temple's been there for over 400 years. Yeah. And it's like, meet his kids, and he's like, well, that's the next, generation of the monk. And their heritage of craft, I think. Similarly, I visited a sake distillery, and he said, I'm the 15th generation sake master of this distiller. I've been in my family that whole time. And then his son literally crawls out from the back and he says, well, that's the 16th generation master. So they have that heritage. And I think, like, as a much younger country and a newer country, like the way we relate to that, I think is interesting. And I think you see a lot of favor to Japanese things presently in the culture now.
Right.
Like, things with Japanese writing on them are popular. Supreme and like other Japanese brands are popular. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, I think, and whether they can tap into that, like, because I think Switzerland for a long time has always had that, like, high brand, high horology kind of a thing. Yeah. And Japan for a long time made lesser quality goods, and maybe only in the last, several decades or half of a century have really gone into like the super, trying to go into the super high quality. And then they have brands that we don't get here. So like they have even like they grade all the watchmakers at Grand Seiko, and then after you've been there a certain number of time and trained a certain way, like you get to be a gold metal watchmaker or whatever it is. Yeah. So then of those, they picked like one from every category, and they become Creedor. Yeah. And then Creedor makes its own, like all these hand paints all the dials. Those are insane. And like the Ichi-2 is a super simple watch, but the detail on it is just like incomparable to me. Oh yeah. But I think like for them, it's just not a thing done in isolation, which is what I think like about Japanese culture, that there's this like holistic interpretation of like, that's why they bring in all the nature. And after a while, you're like, okay, another limited edition like of the lake surface at twilight on a Tuesday. Yeah. But it is like they buy buy what they're selling, man. I mean, and I think that to me, seeing that firsthand, being there, knowing what I know about Japanese culture, speaking the language, like I don't know, it was just beautiful to see, I think, and it's what I think keeps me like aligned with the brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you see it. You mentioned, they brought in quartz back in the day. My first Grand Seiko was a quartz watch, but it's so fascinating when you're talking about. You think quartz, right? You think kind of cheap, kind of whatever. I think it had the same pace as that. It wasn't really visible to the human eye, but it does like the double tick.
The double tick. Yeah,
and it was so precise on each marker. And then when you look into how they grow their own quartz.
Right.
They do, and they match it to the watch. And it's like, it's not, I mean, it is still a quartz watch, yes, but it's almost like it's a different thing. It shouldn't even be the same category.
And they grade it, and then they have I really want it. So I have this one, I have the spring, and I have the Ryusendo.
Yeah.
So I have like a mechanical spring drive, a high beat.
Yeah.
I really want a quartz, and I want one of those super quartz. They have a little star on the dial.
Yeah.
Those are plus or minus 1
seconds?
second a year.
Oh, I thought 15 seconds a year. 1 second a year.
I'm pretty sure. I
That
could
is
be.
either is insane, but
Fact
1
check
second,
me, but it's an insane number. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a wild kind of a thing that they will do that and go to those lengths. I worked for a manufacturing company in Japan when I was there, and they made cool Q-tips, so wildly different industry, but still fine craft. And it was layered leather, and it was an involved process. And of those, they would grade the tips in terms of hardness. So like how much like resistance there was when you struck an object ball with a pull cube. They would grade them in 4 grades. And so we had some tips. It was a box of 2,000, and they were graded as grade 3 tips.
Yeah.
And it was possible that of those 2,000, one tip that was in there that was a grade 2 tip. So I've been playing pool my whole life. I'm a pretty strong player. By no means am I like a professional, but I can like barely tell the difference blind. And there's probably only a handful of even pros that could tell. But because we weren't even sure that one of them was wrong, but because one of them could have been wrong, we threw them all away.
Wow.
It's like $80,000 worth of product at retail. And he didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
He just threw them away, the president of the company. Because it was unacceptable that even one person maybe could have an experience that was a little bit off from what he said that they would have. And like that's, so it's can be, like obviously they can't produce a lot that way. It's like a slowing down of process. And like in America, I think like our efficiency would kick on. But they're like that sense of craft, And I think that's just a wonderful thing that they do.
Well, and I think to bring it back to Seiko again, you get that in Grand Seiko, but whenever you're getting into watches, people ask me, what watch should I get for under $1,000? I will always say Seiko, because you aren't getting an insane Grand Seiko finishing necessarily, but you're still getting such an incredible product. That's great, really, at any price point.
No, I agree with that. I think at that price point, like they're pretty unmatched.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Hamilton makes some like lovely stuff too, but I think Seiko for me is
it's great. It's Seiko, right?
It's Seiko.
Yeah,
Seiko.
Awesome. We'll let you get back to it, but thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me again.
We'll do this again in a month, probably. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll try and stay in the country this time.
Awesome.
Thanks,
We'll do
though.
it.